However, phycomycetes do not show vegetative reproduction because they are aseptate mycelium and also cenocytic mycelium. They can also undergo sexual reproduction with the help of ascospores produced from another type of specialized cells called asci or ascus in singular. Asci is plural. The dolipod septum allows each chamber or each fragment of the mycelium to communicate with each other by forming cytoplasmic bridges, and such septum are known as dolipod septum.
Thank you for watching this video.
We will now look into kingdom fungi. They can be unicellular like yeast, or they can be loosely multicellular like mushrooms. They have filamentous structures. The multicellular ones or the loosely multicellular ones, their bodies are composed of various long thread-like filamentous structures known as hyphae, and the network of hyphae is known as mycelium. Now, when the hyphae forms continuous tubes like the endoplasmic reticulum, I am using it just as an example. There is no relationship with endoplasmic reticulum. However, when the hyphae forms continuous tubes and the tubes have cytoplasm that have multiple nucleus or multinucleated cytoplasms are enclosed with their tubes, those kind of hyphae are known as cenocytic hyphae, and cenocytic hyphae gives rise to cenocytic mycelium. Their cell wall is made up of chitin, hence chitinous cell wall. They also form symbiotic relationship with algae known as lichen. Lichen is an indicator of SO2 pollution or air pollution. SO2 pollution or air pollution. Mainly, they are sensitive to sulfur dioxide. When the sulfur dioxide levels are very high, produced as a result of burning of fossil fuels, the lichens wither away. They cannot survive there. The lichen has two parts. One is the phycobiont or the algal part, and is the mycobiont or the fungal part. The phycobiont part plus the mycobiont part forms the lichen. The algae produces food by photosynthesis and gives oxygen and food to the fungus. The fungus gives carbon dioxide and other organic substances, water and shelter to the algae. So it is a symbiotic. Also, some fungi form symbiotic relationship with higher plants, right? Which is known as mycorrhiza. Generally, they form symbiotic relationship with the root capillaries of higher plants, forming mycorrhiza. This mycorrhiza also helps the plant to store food, store water, minerals, etc. There are a lot of benefits to the plant, and also the fungus gets shelter and food from the plant itself, and also some degree of oxygen as well. Now, their mode of nutrition can be saprophytic, feeding on dead and decaying organisms such as rotting piece of wood. In monsoon season, it is very common to find mushroom on dead decaying parts of wood, fallen tree trunks, logs, etc. Also, they can be parasitic. For example, Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. This is a parasitic fungus present in Africa, parts of South America. What they do, they release spores. These spores are taken up by ants through their trachea. Now, once inside the body of the ant, the spores generally hijack the nervous system of the ant. The particular individual ant breaks away from the ant colony. They climb up to a particular part of the plant or the tree, and they bite a particular part of the branch or a twig or a leaf or the bark itself, tree trunk itself, and they hang in there. And day by day, the spores develop hyphae which form mycelium, and the fungus breaks out from the body of the unfortunate ant. So this is a parasitic nature of the fungi which we can see in Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. Now coming to the classes, the first fungal class that we will discuss is the Phycomycetes. Phycomycetes can be many, Phycomycetes can be terrestrial, and they are obligate plant parasites, meaning they cannot survive without parasitizing an aquatic plant or a terrestrial plant. They are mainly ectoparasites. They have accepted sinusotic mycelium. Accepted means the mycelium or the hyphae do not have septum or separations or partitions within them, so they are accepted. Now these septa or like all these partitions divide the hyphae or divide the network of hyphae known as mycelium into particular individual chambers, and generally in case of septate hyphae or septate mycelium, each chamber can act as an unit of reproduction by vegetative method. If you break off a septum, or you break up a particular region of hyphae enclosed by two septa, and you like throw it away in a moist soil or a particular kind of condition, like which is dark, which is moist, which is cool, which does not have direct sunlight, situations or conditions conducive for fungal growth, all those fragments, right? All those fungal fragments encapsulated by the septa will give rise to an entire fungus. So they can also reproduce by vegetative means. However, Phycomycetes do not show vegetative reproduction because they are aseptate mycelium and also sinusotic mycelium. They can reproduce asexually as well as sexually. Let's look at that asexual reproduction. Mainly, the asexual reproduction is formed by the fusion of two kind of asexual spores. One is the motile zoospores and the non-motile aplanospores, both of which are formed in a specialized region or a sac called a sporangium. Also, there is another kind of asexually reproducing spores known as the zoospores, formed by the fusion of isogamous or anisogamous or oogamous gametes. Isogamous means all the gametes are appearing as equals. All the gametes appear like copies or clones of each other. They are physiologically similar. And anisogamous or oogamous means they are of different size, different shape, different morphology. So fusion of isogamous or oogamous or anisogamous spores resulting in the formation of zoospores is also another way by which Phycomycetes can reproduce asexually. Now, the sexual reproduction is either done by isogamy or heterogamy. Isogamy is again fusion of similarly appearing or similar type of sexual gametes of similar morphology, and heterogamy is done by the fusion of anisogamous sexual spores or oogamous sexual spores. Examples of Phycomycetes are mucor, which forms the black rust disease in various plants such as onions, and the bread mold, which we commonly encounter, the whitish or greenish type of things that are formed on the surface of bread if we keep the piece of bread open, especially in conditions of high humidity such as in monsoon season, we find carpet-like growth found on the bread. This is the rhizopus or the bread mold. So this is all about the class Phycomycetes. Now we will look into the class Ascomycetes. These are known as sac fungus because their bodies, their mycelium or the network of hyphae, they look like just a sac. Their mycelium is branched and septate, hence they can reproduce vegetatively, as I have just discussed with you. Asexual reproduction is done by the asexual spores known as conidia, which is produced from the conidiophores or specialized cells called conidiophores produces the asexual spores called conidia, and these conidia are the spores that gives rise to the mycelium in the next generation of the fungus. They can also undergo sexual reproduction with the help of ascospores produced from another type of specialized cells called asci or ascus in singular. Asci is plural. However, students have to keep in mind there is no tissue in the kingdom fungi. These cells just form clusters of cells that produces sexual spores like conidia or the asexual spores such as conidia or the sexual spores such as ascospores. However, they do not form structure called tissues. Tissue level differentiation is absent in kingdom fungi, and tissue level differentiation is only present in higher plants and animals only. Right? Now, these asci or the group of cells giving rise to the sexual spores or ascospores, they are arranged in different conformations or configurations in fruiting bodies, and these fruiting bodies are known as ascocarps. Right? The examples of ascomycetes are aspergillus and neurospora. These aspergillus and neurospora are also type of plant fungus, right? And the fruiting bodies, there is a specialized structure. Like if this is a fungus, this is the hyphae, this is the mycelium, and this is the fruiting body. Here they have the ascospores. So all the spores produced from the fruiting body or the rupture of the fruiting body are sexual spores or ascospores. Right? Next, we have the basidiomycetes or the most popular group of fungus that we see everywhere. The class basidiomycetes contains mushrooms, so they are commercially very important, and also few mushrooms under the class basidiomycetes are edible, like the button mushrooms, and they are considered as a delicacy. However, all mushrooms should not be consumed as they contain different kinds of toxins that can be very harmful to us. They are poisonous and should be avoided at any cost. They are known as club fungi because like they have a stalk, they have a stalk and they have a head. So this looks like a club or a mace, a weapon, right? A club or a mace. This looks like. So this is known as club fungi. They are plant parasites. They parasitize living plants, plant parts where there is enough moisture, no direct sunlight, a particular temperature is there below, generally below 25 degrees, generally roughly 17, 18 to 25 to 27 degrees Celsius is there. They parasitize those plant parts. They derive food, right? They steal food and oxygen from the plant, and they also release their waste products into the plant body. Their mycelium is branched and septate, hence they can undergo vegetative reproduction with the help of or through the process of fragmentation, like the breaking of the part or the septum or chamber enclosed by the septa in each mycelium. They break off, they fall into the ground, and they give rise to more and more basidiomycetes fungus. Now, their septum is not completely solid or it is not completely a blind wall. Their septum has pores in them, right? On every septum, there is a barrel shaped pore known as the septal pores, and such septums are known as dolipore septum. Like In plants, the cell wall has pores called plasmodesmata, which helps the plant cells to communicate with each other through their means of their cytoplasm. They form a cytoplasmic bridge or a protoplasmic bridge. Similarly, the dolipod septum allows each chamber or each fragment of the mycelium to communicate with each other by forming cytoplasmic bridges, and such septum are known as dolipod septum, and the pores are known as the septal pores. No sexual reproduction in basidiomycetes. However, asexual reproduction along with vegetative reproduction occurs by fragmentation, as I have just said. Asexual reproduction occurs in two ways or two steps. First is the plasmogamy or the fusion of protoplasm between the different kinds of vegetative cells of different strains or genotypes, that is, containing different genetic makeup, and these vegetative cells fuse and form a structure called basidium. Inside this basidium, four basidiospores or asexual spores are produced exogenously, that is, on the protoplasmic surface only they are produced exogenously. Four basidiospores in each basidium, and these basidiospores actually fuse firstly through plasmogamy and then karyogamy or fusion of the nucleus occurs, right? And this is the two ways through which the basidiomycetes can reproduce asexually. Now these basidium formed by the plasmogamy are arranged in fruiting bodies known as basidiocarps. So, fruiting bodies of basidiomycetes is the basidiocarp. The fruiting bodies of the ascomycetes are the ascocarps. These terms are very important. Fruiting bodies ascocarps, ascomycetes, fruiting bodies basidiocarps, base class basidiomycetes. Example agaricus, that is the mushrooms. Coming to the last class of the kingdom fungi is the deuteromycetes. They are known as incomplete fungus because only the vegetative reproductive phases are known. Till date, there is no evidence of sexual phase of reproduction or asexual phase of reproduction. Only the vegetative phase of reproduction is known. Hence, they are known as incomplete fungus. They have asexual spores called conidia, which again fuse forming mycelium, and the mycelium are septate and branched. They are saprophytic and parasitic. For example, trichoderma, and or there are other kinds of deuteromycetes such as candida. Generally, deuteromycetes are responsible for various skin infections, irritations, rashes that we have in monsoon or in the summer season. Right. So this is all about kingdom fungi. I hope you like the classes. Thank you and stay tuned for more updates.